everybody. It's my pleasure and honor to be here. I feel the emotion of speaking in front of you in this city, which hosted so many people from Sant'Andrea, and everybody did well, and we recognize very much your affection to us. Thank you very much, Mayor for your invitation. And so I'm going to show you some set of slides, mainly about the landscape and the architecture of Sant'Andrea and how it is located in southern Italy. So if you can please, this will be a short presentation mainly based on images because it's really a typical Mediterranean, southern Mediterranean city. Pretty different from here, but in a way not so much because the volume of people is almost the same. The concept of living together alive and to be nice to each other is the same. Also geographically, the height of Sant'Andrea above the level of the sea is the same. It's about 330 meters, almost as is Whitesburg, even though the village extends from the sea to the high mountains up to 1,100 meters. And we always imagine how was the life of these people from southern Italy to embark in a boat like the Rex or the Celtic, as we were saying before, and traveling seven days on the sea, south in the island, and going everywhere there was a job, because Italy was southern Italy was in a bad shape, particularly after the unification of Italy. So most of the industries were gone to the north, and the population started to immigrate. Okay. I will go closer so I can point out better the slides. And if you please turn down the lights, probably it's here.
That's good.
Okay, this is good. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, Sant'Andrea is located in southern Italy. Here, it's too wide probably. Okay, it's in the Gulf of Squillace, which is a very nice area with archaeology, with sea, with mountains, with a lot of good characteristics. And this is the banner of Sant'Andrea. So, the next one. Okay, this is the village, the old village. There is a marina down to the sea and the old village. The boundaries are two rivers, Alaga and Savuro, which are also very nice rivers. And that's the Ionian Sea on the right, and here is the mountain up to 1,100 meters. Next one. Okay, some of the landscape. This is the direct front landscape from the Church of Sant'Andrea, this one of the 17th century, facing the sea. The whole village is facing the sea. Most of these villages did not. They were concealed behind the hills to prevent invasion by the Arabs, the Saraceni, in some century. And this is another view of the Gulf of Squillace from the village, particularly from our garden in the old town. Next one. Okay, the history of these lands in Greece and southern Italy, which was a mining region, starts of course with mythology. And mythology says that a king, a very clever and nice king, the name was Italus, and he gave the name to the country, Italy. Very few people know that. So he gave new rules to the Enotrians. The Enotrians were the original population of Calabria, in the area of Cosenza mainly, and the word Enotrians comes from oionos, that's wine. So they were able to cultivate the grapes and to make wine in Calabria, which is a tradition that was never lost, but now it's coming back very nicely, and very good wines is now produced in Calabria too. Okay, so next. Now, he turned this population from mainly pastoral to mostly agricultural society. He introduced the practice of sissizio. Sissizio means sit in together. Something like we did yesterday, eating together, know each other, and stay in peace. Instead of killing the animals, just make a bread in the shape of the animal and eat that, instead of killing the animals. And still today, these are biscuits from Soriano, nearby Sant'Andrea, are typical biscuits resembling animal figures. And actually, it's a gift that a boy gives to the girlfriend when they get together. Next one. Okay, this again is the region, that's Calabria. This is our spot here. The most important time in this area was the Magna Grecia. Magna Grecia at that time was like the promised land, was America in a way. So all the Greeks want to move there. Why? Because Greek was not so fertile, very stony, no rain, so it was difficult to live there. In Calabria there was everything, so agriculture, hunting, mountains, a lot of water, whatever. So it was considered a very important site. This is a remnant of the Capocolonna in Crotone, one of the most important colonies there. There were so many here in the coast, Reggio, Sybaris, Locri. Unfortunately, as in Greece, they fight each other every time. In Croton, there was the most important wrestler who went to Greece for Olympiads, no? And he won every manifestation, every year the gold medal, you see. Okay, and I forgot the name, but will come later. And art, what about the art? We don't know where these Riace bronzes come from. For sure they were found near Sant'Andrea, in the small village of Riace, just near the coast. It's a very strange discovery. And these are among the most beautiful example of Greek bronze, and they are now in the museum in the Reggio Calabria, not so far. Next one. Okay, this is Pythagoras. Everybody knows Pythagoras. He was from the island of Samos, and the father was a merchant. Pythagoras, as a child, followed the father in his traveling. It was very easy to connect Calabria to Greece because of strong winds are connecting the two regions. So Pythagoras was in Crotone, was fascinated by the life there, and all his life wanted to go back there. And in fact, he founded this philosophical and mathematical school in Crotone, and made the rules, and he promoted very much women, the legislation for women, and promoted also vegetarianism. So it was really a mind, of course, behind the mathematical theories, of course. Next one. Okay, when the Roman came, and they came because the Calabrese made a mistake. Sometimes a mistake changes life. They sided Hannibal. And so after, Hannibal was the most important general in the world, whatever. They say better than Alexander the Great or anyone else, okay? But the Romans are tough. So this, with the Roman Empire, the defeat of Pyrrhus and Hannibal started the decay of this Magna Grecia. The Roman families took the ground, and people started to immigrate and to lose their wealth. These are statues in a very nice museum in Borgia, which is a large and beautiful archaeological area in the olive trees location with the view of the sea, of course, and it's very close to Sant'Andrea, it's 10 kilometers more or less. And here you can see a Roman road, which is called the Decumanus. The Decumanus connected to cities more or less. The Cardos was another typical road name, which brought directly in the heart of the city. This is why the name is Cardos, like core, heart, okay? So went into the heart of the city. The Roman streets are very important because they were made of layers, 5 layers, particularly the Appia Road is the most famous of those. And these 5 layers give the name to the street, Strada. Okay, so your name comes from this roads. Next. Now, a very important part of Calabrian culture comes from the Byzantine. When they moved from Middle East, they moved first to Sicily, then the Arabs came and forced them to go to Calabria. And they left some important Byzantine churches like this Catholic in Stilo, but many others in, let's say, in Rossano. They're beautiful examples, a beautiful codex, the Codex Purpurus particularly, which is a sort of code of translation and rule description. In Sant'Andrea there is a little example, this church of Campo, here on the right, with some nice remnant of Byzantine frescoes. Next. Okay, let's see some view of the village. Just continuing with the story. So the Saracen made a lot of incursion, particularly in the 10th, 11th century on the coast. So people was forced to move to the hill. Before this time, everybody was on the sea. So the new villages, which we call now the old villages, are the new villages. And mostly, as I told you, concealed behind a hill. Then the Normans came. There were a lot of invasions. In years, I don't want to speak about that. When the Normans came and set the rule for about 400 years. And this is why many of us had blue eyes. At the beginning they were against the church, and then they understood the church was very strong there, so they married together, and in fact they built some beautiful basilicas there and left many remnants. I don't have the slides here because I think we cut it out for brevity. Next one. Okay, culture. I think one of the most important representatives of Calabria was Tommaso Campanella. He was a priest, he was a philosopher, and he wrote a beautiful book which is The City of Sun, La Città del Sole, which is a sort of socialist way to organize a city in peace and in rules. Everything it was set and organized and programmed. But for this reason, he underwent a process in Squillace and unfortunately spent 24 hours in jail in Naples, which is not very nice. Next one. Okay, culture. So I think this is the most important book. It's a dictionary. So this is crazy, you know, an old man who is a professor, he knows Latin, Greek, everything is mine. Is Enrico Armogida. He wrote in probably 20 years a huge dictionary. There are others too. So can you imagine a small village of 700 people even having a dictionary? So this is a sign of the affection to the language and to the city. This is really huge, like a Greek-Italian dictionary, the Rocci, and is both translation, Italian, Androlese, Italian. Is a sort is mine. Okay, you know probably the Elpis. John is going to translate this 30, I think about 30 numbers of this journal. Many wrote also from New York, from the immigrants. It's a source of information about the village and the immigration and so on. There are a lot of writers rather than Enrico Armogida. The most famous of those is Salvatore Mongiardo, again, who is writing a book a year. And this is not the last, it just came out, it's the penultimate, Tales of Sant'Andrea. He writes very well, he made also a great career also in administration, and he is a very cultured man. Okay, the next one will be about the destruction of the weapons in the war, and he's going to present this at the European community in a short time. Good. Landscape of Sant'Andrea. This is the Church of Sant'Andrea here, and you see the sea down there. It's very panoramic. And details of the door. So many of this stonework is done on granite, which is very tough to work, but were not done by the Androlesi. They were done by people in Serra San Bruno, where San Bruno set the chartreuse there, and the area was full of stonemason, okay, and Calabria was the only region, is the only region where you can find granite, together with the northern region of Trentino, which is near Austria. In Trentino, of course, there are mountains, the Dolomites of granite. Here we have stones more than that, and the rest is calcareous. Next one. Okay, so this is a view of the village here. I'm sorry, it's a bit too wide, so you can see the village from here. This is our garden in the sea, and you can barely see the mountains up on the. It's just for 5 kilometers from the sea, 4 to 5 kilometers. Next one. Okay, other views of the terrain and the beautiful sea we have here. Crystal light. It's like some days like really an exotic water, exotic sea. Next one. Okay, this is the loggia of the most important construction and house in Sant'Andrea is Palazzo Scopa from the Baroness Scopa, who came from Naples and did a lot of work and helped in town, and they of course owned the old ground all around, so was it easy for them to promote something in the village. Is now, it was for years an orphanotrophy. I don't know how to translate this in English. So she lived with nuns and collected young kids who had no parents any longer. Probably they died working in the country, I don't know, or diseases. So this is the entrance on the right, again of granite, and the patio with the Jare. How do you say Jare? John, help me, please. The Jare,
Oh, the
containers
jar,
of the oil.
Yeah,
They contain oil in
jar.
big vessels,
Ceramic
like this, like the Romans did. Okay, next one. Palazzo Iannoni is a very nice building. Now it needs a lot of restoration. The church of Rigorini here is another convent which is pretty large. The entrance of Villa Condò, again, of the Lucifero and Scopa family. We can't take pictures of inside because it's private, but it's beautiful. It's like a villa of a movie of Luchino Visconti or okay, this is the back of Sant'Andrea Church with a pretty modern but very interesting sculpture of a palm on bricks made by architect Armogida. Next one. Okay, here we come to the other portals. Every village has beautiful portals. Sant'Andrea, Davoli, Soverato, and Santa Caterina, beautiful city. They're beautiful portals. All of them were done by people from the high mountain. They came down and did this job. Mostly all of them. Okay, this is of the Damiani family in a district of Sant'Andrea, which was unfortunately hit by the flooding, but the portal is remaining. And the families come from France. In fact, their name was Damian before. Actually, you see all the symbols of France, the lion, the lily, and so on. When the French came in town to destroy it, because the Androlesi took again the wrong place, so they defended the church. So Napoleon decided, or Marat decided to destroy the city. So they came in and they burned the city, they killed a lot of people, and but they saw the signs of French power here, and they left this house. They didn't touch it. So it's very important, this door. Next one. Now these are the other portals, which are beautiful. This is the house where Joe Romeo lived in the early 90s. Okay. some of the other. There are so many. Next. Okay, nature. There is a waterfall here between Sant'Andrea and Sant'Andrea. The hill intersection one each other and create nice color combination. Of course, the olive trees here. And next. Okay, what about the products? These are ceramics from Squillace. Sant'Andrea was the village of ceramics, but now we are starting again the manufacture, and the mayor sent you some of those. I don't think they came in yet. I'm sorry, but these are from Squillace. They maintain the tradition, of course, and the one I brought you comes from Squillace. Is the same kind of ceramics. There are, of course, oranges and all kind of citrus, and the grapes, and next, every kind of vegetable can grow them beautifully. And then the olive trees. The olive trees are majestic. These are millenary trees all around. Next one. And they resist to everything. They didn't rain for 6 months, so they're there. They never die. They're born, they come back again. They cut them, and properly they again. So they never die. Actually, it's an incredible tree. Next one. Okay, sign of immigration. Nice house in the hill, facing the sea, beautiful place. Gone, because people, in case this Dominiani went to the United States, probably who knows where. I don't know very much. About this family immigration, and it's a real pity because they used to keep every single piece of the hills like a garden, so it was like really a paradisic garden. And now the nature is coming back and trees are growing. It's still nice, but it's another landscape compared to what was when everybody kept a small piece of land by their own. Next one. Okay, now I will ask John to come in here and to introduce the families who came here. I think 100 people from Sant'Andrea and immigrated here to merge with your population and to start building what they were able to do. John, please.
So, the immigration aspect of this, I mean, you see it roll through the different epochs in history, but this one is really interesting and actually a surprise on both sides in different ways. And this book, which was published maybe about 20 years ago, maybe longer, really was a nice hallmark to find that kind of connected both Whitesburg and Sant'Andrea. They did a really nice job on the history of Letcher County. And this was all found by surprise. It was kind of a forgotten in plain sight. What's interesting about this book is that the majority family is here today, and that is Robin's great-grandfather sitting on I believe this was a school they were building. These are the two Munjardo brothers that Sam mentioned in the beginning of his talk. And then other people that we knew were from Sant'Andrea, but we didn't know who they were. And there was some beautiful documentation of the buildings that were being built in Whitesburg and in Letcher County generally. And it really was a remarkable infusion and synergy between the people from Sant'Andrea and the people in Whitesburg working together. And what I found interesting about it is my family came through New York. Most came to the bigger cities and were in manufacturing jobs. But the first generation that came to Whitesburg remarkably integrated really well. Sam intimated towards that, and they not only, within a few years, they were closely interrelated friendship-wise, working-wise, and many of them, within not even 10 years, were owning houses, personal relationships, their marriages. It was a very quick integration of both cultures. And I think there's a lot of similarities in both cultures. You know, Paolo mentioned that sisitsu arrangement that started back in the Greeks, and this whole notion of being able to come together, that family, friends, are what's important. That's a very cultural aspect of certainly from Sant'Andrea, and certainly in Whitesburg. But it's interesting that its history finds its way back into the Greek tradition of the conception and the origins of the village on the Sant'Andrea side. And I know in Whitesburg the same feeling is also about that. And these families kept in touch. There was a lot of letters, there were a lot of communications, there were travels back and forth. But next slide. I like getting into data. Sam does as well. I love finding different types of aspects, and it was fascinating to see what's available today that you can retrieve because most of this information has been digitized. And what, surprisingly, by accident, I mean, I've told this story to Sam, is one of my cousins said, hey, you know, our grandfather was in Kentucky, can you find some pictures of him? It's like, you know, that was 120 years ago. But what's remarkable is accidentally finding that, starting in West Virginia, and then coming to Whitesburg. In the Whitesburg Mountain Eagle, there's an advertisement of Paul Ranieri, who does stonemasonry work and actually builds in 1921. He owned a house here. So did the Palumbo family. You know, so did the Cotaspodis. They intermarried. They were a real part of the community on College Hill, I think is what Sam mentioned. And I like to recognize the Palumbos. I mean, Jessica is here. John Palumbo and Brian both were very helpful in being able to get a lot of this information and help this actually become a reality. But what also is interesting is from the majority family side, this is a World War II, you probably can't read it, registration card. So Frank Majority Sr., Francesco Mungiardo, who became Frank Majority, as Sam mentioned, he changed his name from Francesco Mungiardo to Frank Majority. This is a registration card, and what's remarkable about it, he was 59 years old, and he registered for World War II from Whitesburg with his name, Frank Zasso, the nickname of those Mungiardos in Sant'Andrea, Majority. And it's a lovely record, and there's several others, I don't know if you've seen them before, and he's got a beautiful script. His handwriting is beautiful and very nicely written. But there's a lot of history of the Italians that came from Sant'Andrea within Whitesburg, and I mean a treasure trove. And really interesting to see how they went about, you know, transplanting their lives here and then becoming part of the community. And the census documents showing where they live, you know, where their origins are from. It's really quite fascinating, and to see how they communicated with the village. Next slide. So, we just got this last night, so when I put this together, Mike Majority basically sent a picture from Whitesburg of his family back in the 1950s, where you can tell who the immigrant was with the hat. Frank on the right, and Zasso, and then Frank Majority Jr., which many people know from Whitesburg. He was kind of a many-faceted person, into photography, building, very interesting. And this is a picture, I guess 1957, 58, from Whitesburg. That kind of ties to that, you know, that card that you saw last time. So, there was a mystery because we don't know who the other people are in this cover. So Paolo has got this information. He's been kind of talking to people in Sant'Andrea, and he incidentally went to a dinner with a very good friend from Sant'Andrea, a really nice guy who I met. And after Paolo had told me about this, so he's having dinner. He mentions, well, you know, I'm going to be going to Whitesburg. The people just about fell off their chair, and what do you mean Whitesburg? So these two people, their origins of their grandparents and uncles were from Whitesburg. Paolo didn't know this. So they run in, they get pictures that are hanging in the walls in this little village in Sant'Andrea of their family in Whitesburg in about 1910, 1920. Beautiful picture. I have one here that you can see. And then we identified the guy in the middle of the book was this guy's grandfather, Galdino Dominiani. And this is Bruno Dominiani. The nickname is from Turkey, the Turks. The Dominianis from Turkey, for a story that was told about them. So we identified, next slide. And then they go in, they pull a picture out. This is a beautiful picture. It's hard to see on here, but this is a picture in Whitesburg of the Comodati family, another family that was here. I think Sam mentioned them as well. And it's a beautiful look at an immigrant family at a very nice house in Whitesburg around probably 1915, 1916 is what Galdino said was this picture. Next slide. And then the comparisons. Galdino, the grandson of Bruno, pretty much this is Bruno's house in Sant'Andrea, and he very quickly, to point out the similarities between the Cook building and the Dominiani house right in the center of town in Sant'Andrea. There's also a bridge, he said. I'm not sure, there's a well-known bridge here, but there's a bridge also in the Marina in Sant'Andrea that he says equal. They look exactly alike. They're beautiful contrast. Unfortunately, we were not able to get a picture, but we'll get one. It's a nice look at seeing how they brought what they brought, and then working with the people in Whitesburg and building these very unique and very interesting buildings. Next slide. And then the last piece. So, not only coming to surprise at Whitesburg, but wait, there's more. So accidentally, I find out that the beautiful church with the boot, Sam discussing the issue, which is a remarkable story. I think one of the more interesting immigrant stories I've heard. Forget that I'm from Sant'Andrea. The interesting part was that, so I'm going trying to get this put together. There's another house in Pikeville that has an Italian stone on it. You can't see it from here, unfortunately, the slides are a little dark, but what's fascinating about it is it's a beautiful figurine of a boot. And come to find, after speaking to a couple of people, this used to be Governor Patton's house in Pikeville, which Paolo and I are going to visit tomorrow. We're going to meet him tomorrow. Fascinating. He bought this from the Bowles family, which is a very well-known family in Pikeville. And it was done for one of his daughters. And if you notice the stone, which you can have copies of this presentation if you want, you'll see it's a figurine. It's an actually feminine boot. And it was done by the people from Sant'Andrea. And the interesting part, of course, Paul Patton lived in that house and brought up his family in that house. But they basically commuted from Whitesburg to Pikeville after the church. About 3 or 4 years after the church, this house was built. And they took the hallmark, the trademark that they had, and they applied it to the Bowles mansion in Pikeville. It is a beautiful house. So it's a very nice, beautiful, side by side to show, the stonemasons really did have a lot of pride, a lot of passion, and a lot of pride about where they came from as well. So it's a very nice testament to, the buildings in Whitesburg and all over eastern Kentucky.
Okay, so just a couple of words about the nicknames. Almost every family in the village has a nickname. What's the meaning of Zassi, of the mangiardo? Simply means, in a way, fat. So wealthy people were fat. So it was like a recognition they were a good family and working and making a good business. The Turchi, the Ranieri, where the Ranieri, remember?
Bruno Dominiani.
Dominiani, okay, the Galdino's family. They took this name because during the incursion of the Arabs to the coast, they used to keep people to serve as slaves in Middle East. And they kept this young guy of this family, of this Dominiani family, and brought to Turkey or whatever. So it was sold to a nice family, so it was a very nice situation there. And once they served for lunch the chestnuts, but only one each, because this is very precious. They say, this is precious. So this the pigs. So, not really. So if you will take me back, I will go up to the mountain and bring you a sack. We go together, don't worry. So they brought him back to Sant'Andrea, and he said them, stay here, I will come back, and he never came back, of course. So he was hidden in the mountain. So this is the story we see. Okay, this is the last slides of the cemetery of Sant'Andrea. Of course, it's a very beautiful cemetery, beautiful view of the sea also. And so, in the next slide, we invite you, and I invite you on behalf of the Mayor of Sant'Andrea, next one, is Nicola Ramogida, which I'm sorry I didn't mention before, who thanks you very much for the invitation, for your attention and appreciation for the people of Sant'Andrea who came here, and for your being so nice to host them and to promote their work. Thank you very much.